Hey guys, what's up? And welcome to the very first episode of Cinematography. Yeah, my name is Matt Workman, and in this web series we're going to be talking about all things related to cinematography roughly once a week. So for our very first episode, we're going to be talking about none other than the Alexa Mini, the brand new Alexa Mini. As of recording this video, this camera is so new. I think we were literally holding one of the first 10, or at least one of the very early first batches to hit in New York City. It was a lot of fun to really just hold the camera, just to pick it up as like, a bare cube, because that's what it is. It's this little very lightweight 5-pound cube, and then we put it on our shoulder. We put it on a shoulder rig to see how that felt, and then lastly, Chris put it on his Movi 15, and we flew it around. We didn't have all the accessories that we wanted, but we still learned a whole lot. And in this video, we're going to break down our first impressions of it. We're going to go through the things that we think are interesting and the things that are important before anyone else starts to shoot with it as well. Oh, and Alexa Mini. It's cool because it's small. Okay, let's get the boring stuff out of the way first. So Alexa Mini. Technical details. This is the grid of all the numbers. That's really boring. I don't even enjoy looking at this stuff anymore, but it's important to know where, with all like the hundreds of cinema cameras out there, where does the Alexa Mini stack up? What can it do? What cameras does it match? It's important. Let's go through it as quickly as we can. So the Alexa Mini, as of now, as basically if you're watching this video pretty close to when we recorded it and you're going to be, you know what, Matt, I want to shoot with the Alexa Mini. What does it do right now? What it does really well right now is Apple ProRes Log C 444 at 1080, 2K, 3.2K, and 4K HD. It does all those formats. Now, if you're shooting 1080 or 2K, the max frame rate is 200 frames per second. Just like the Amira, that's really fast. That's going to get you, that amount of high speed gets you a lot. 200 frames per second, not mad at it. I don't think anyone could really be mad at that. When we go to the 3.2K and the 4K standard, the max frame rate is 60 frames per second, and that's still really good. Now, 3.2K up-res to 4K, there's a little drama there. People don't really know what to think about that. Even now, even with that format being relatively new, I've heard different camps saying that 3.2K is better. It's better not to have the camera up-res it. But in the end, it's an Alexa. It makes really pretty images. And if it's 3.2K or 4K, more resolution, if that makes someone's life better, that's cool with it. I think it's going to be an awesome format. I started by saying the things that are available right now. But in the future, it's been announced that basically the Alexa Mini, which should basically pretty much be called the Alexa XT Mini, is actually carrying inside of it the Alexa XT sensor. So what that means is that in the future, and I think this is going to be end of 2015, early 2016, they're going to allow you to shoot not only the regular Alexa sensor, but they're going to allow you to shoot OpenGate, which is like the full sensor. So it's their newest camera and it has their newest sensor and it has all the newest technology. Okay, so now we're going to talk about this camera's physicality, the dimension, the ergonomics, and really, you can't talk about the ergonomics without talking about the features that are in this little camera. Honestly, when I first saw it, I saw this box and I'm like, it was giving me flashbacks and bad flashbacks to back when I was shooting with SLRs. Why did we take all the features of the Amira off of it, and why am I using this little box again? And that was my initial impression, and I kind of brought that as I was going there. I was kind of like, I don't think I'm ever going to use this thing handheld, and I was wrong. Unlike the Canon SLRs, this camera the Alexa Mini has a lot of features in it that make it really easy to use, and it means that you need to add less accessories, and that's basically the thing that I want to talk about. The first thing is the brand new PL mount, and the PL mount has LDS in it, so you can get data from the lens, but it also has this little tiny port in it where you can basically plug in a wireless focus motor right into that, and it's going to be powered and controlled through that port. So what that means is that if you want wireless control, which you pretty much do on every shoot these days, it means that you don't have to put a whole extra control box and all this other cabling on the system. I think we've all been on shoots, maybe not all of us, but a lot of us have been on shoots where you have a nice looking Alexa with the Prime, with the map box, and then you have to drop another huge Preston box on the back and then throw all these motors on it, and by the time you've built it out, your camera's this big, it's gigantic. You're on the easy rig, you're flying around with it. So instead of having the box and all these wires, you basically just take the motor, you throw it right on the rail, and you plug it right into the lens port. So that's already an amazing weight off your shoulders. So the next thing that they've done is they've added ND filters right into the camera, and that's great. They did that with the Amira, but they didn't do it with the Alexa line. I think it was considered like a prosumer option to have internal NDs, but it's not, and it's especially important if you're going to be putting on a drone. So if you're really building like a really small rig, again, what we've gone through so far is that you can put, one focus motor, nothing else. You just have a body, one focus motor, and you can change the NDs internally. You don't need anything else other than that. Now, the real thing that I think has really made this camera really good for handheld is the viewfinder. And at first glance, it looks like the Arri Mira viewfinder, but it's actually the second version. It's the new version. And I've been told, I didn't spend a lot of time with the first version, but I've heard that there were some issues, and they've really fixed them on this one. And in general, if you haven't used this viewfinder yet, the mounting for it and the design is really good. I mean, it's an Arri design. The operator puts the viewfinder part to his eye, and it has basically, his or her eye, it has a viewfinder that pops out, and the screen articulates, and you can control everything from there. And that's pretty cool. It becomes like an onboard for an AC. Maybe, I don't know if you're pulling focus off that, but at least for a director or someone that can, like, you're operating and they can look into the viewfinder, that's awesome. So basically, we've eliminated so far, we don't need all the normal wireless accessories for focus and zoom. You don't need a matte box for ND filters, and you don't need an onboard monitor necessarily. You can kind of get on with just the box and the viewfinder. So I think the first question that comes up is that when you look at the Alexa body just on its own, you'll see that there's no LCD on it. There's no screen, and there's very few buttons. So how do you control this camera, especially when it's on a gimbal, when it's on a drone, or even when it's handheld? How do I get in there? How do I change settings? There's no side menu bar. There's no side menu like the Alexas have, or even the Mira. What you have to do is you need to do one of three things. You need to use one is the viewfinder. The viewfinder, when you plug it in, has all the controls basically right on it. And that's cool. And as an operator, you can kind of flip it out, and it's pretty easy to mess around with, change the settings, and that's cool. But the problem is now when you're on a gimbal and you're on a drone, you take the viewfinder off, how do I talk to this thing? So the first most lo-fi way of controlling the Alexa, if you're not using the viewfinder, is to use a web browser. Now basically the Alexa Mini is a server, and you log onto it. It's outputting a signal, and you can communicate it with basically any browser. You can use your iPhone, your Android, your laptop, your iPad, anything with a browser. You can log into the Alexa Mini. That's a weird thing, you're logging into it, but that's how it works. So you log into the camera, and you get this web interface that basically is an emulator of the camera's menu system, and you can do anything you want there. You can change the format, you can activate the ND filters, you can start and stop the camera. It's amazing. So and I think in a lot of cases, if you're unplugged, you're on a gimbal, I think a lot of people are just going to take out their iPhone, hit record, hit stop, change the frame rate, all that stuff, just done right on your iPhone. I think that that's going to be a very common solution. Now, if you're on a bigger set where you can afford more and you need more reliability and more speed, and pulling out your iPhone might be not allowed anyway just because there's no phones because of talent. There's a lot of sets like that these days. The really fancy, cool way to do it is with the new Arri WC4. Now this is their latest wireless follow focus controller. And what it does is it basically directly controls wirelessly all the settings right on the controller. And that's obviously the best. And the other thing about the WC4, and I believe this is right, is that to be able to use the little C-Force motors that are powered by the lens port that makes the system so elegant is that you have to use the WC4. So one of the last things I want to talk about with the Alexa Mini that's really important to understand is kind of the workflow after you shoot it. How do you get it onto your computer, and what do the files look like? So first of all, the Alexa Mini shoots to the brand new C-Fast cards. So no more Sony S/S cards. You're just using kind of generic, pretty much SanDisk C-Fast cards. They're the same size as a compact flash card that you're going to put into your DSLR. They're just a hell of a lot faster, super fast. And the C-Fast card goes into a standard reader that's like $50, not expensive, not proprietary. You USB 3 it into your computer, and you download it like insta-fast, like stupid fast. And for my workflow, I haven't tested any other workflow, but I was using Adobe Premiere, I think CC 2014. I'm not switching to 2015 yet. There's a lot of issues out there, so I'm still waiting for that upgrade. But even on the older version, you just import it right into Premiere. And the interesting thing is that even though it's in log C, when you bring it into Premiere, Premiere is smart enough already now in 2014 to put a Rec 709 on it. I've done a number of commercials where we shot Alexa log C, and either because of the turnaround or the lack of knowledge of what log C footage is, I saw that exact commercial on the TV or on the internet with the footage that looked very log C. Not much color correction happened. So I'm actually not mad the fact that Premiere turns this into a Rec 709 look just right off of the bat. And the other thing about the Alexa Mini and the Alexa Mira, which I just started to do, is that you can use the Arri color tool, and you can make these little CDLs, these little color corrects, so they can be big color corrects. You can load them into the camera, and basically through the viewfinder, you're looking at your LUT. the client's looking at your LUT, the director's looking at the LUT, but it's not actually being baked into the ProRes. The ProRes still comes in as a clean log C, but it gets the lookup table gets traveled along as metadata. So when you bring it into Premiere, that LUT can just be automatically loaded and transported, but you're not destructively baking it in there. So this is a way now for cinematographers to really start to do what we want to do. We can start to define at least roughly what we're looking for in the color correction so that it's not wildly off. And we're making it easy for the editors and the colorists to get with that. You know, if you're going to company 3 and you're doing like the full Arri raw color correct and you're supervising it, you don't need this step. But for the vast majority of us shooting Alexa, I think things are getting slimmer. There's less freelance colorists, more in-house colorists, maybe the editor's coloring it. This sort of thing allows you to control the color that much better. So that's our first quick and dirty look at the Alexa Mini. We're probably going to come back and do a more in-depth one on the different builds you can do some more in-depth testing with the camera, but I learned a ton. I want to say thank you again to Chris Aran, Nicholas Giaquinto for letting us come and see the first unboxing of the camera, seeing the first build of it, being there for the first shoot. I learned a lot. It was really great to see the camera so early on in the process so that I can start to understand the ins and outs of it, what you need to get it working, what it can do, what it will be able to do in the future. It was awesome. I also want to thank Able City in New York and Mike Nichols for letting us be in their space, take up a whole rental bay for a good couple of hours and let us stick around and shoot around this space. So to wrap up this episode, we're going to show you a little bit of test footage that we did. You're going to see some 4K handheld, and you're going to see a little bit of 2K on a Freefly Movie M15. We used the Zeiss Compact Prime CP2 25mm, and truth be told, we were not paying attention to the exposure. I wasn't looking at the focus, none of that stuff. We really just wanted to shoot some stuff with it, make sure that it would fit on a movie, see how it felt really loose. But I still think there's a lot to be learned by seeing the behind the scenes footage and then looking at the actual ProRes footage. So that's it for our first episode. If you enjoyed it, if you learned something new about the Alexa Mini, feel free to give us a thumbs up and a subscribe on YouTube. Find us on Facebook, find us on Twitter, find us on the internet in general. If you have any questions, concerns, or comments, send them my way. I'm reading them. Be gentle. For now, this is Cinematography. Yeah, Workman out. I'm tired. We're done.